What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a brand new video. Today we have a guide on recoil control. It might be a semi-lengthy video, but trust me, it's going to be worth watching. You only have to watch this once, and after that you're going to have so much benefit from it after playing the game, because you know what attachments you want to put on your gun to have better recoil control, or what to focus on in general. This video is mainly focused towards recoil control, but we're actually going to compare some weapon stats on what to focus on, what accuracy stats do, control stats, because it can all be a bit confusing, and that's what this guide is for. If you're enjoying these type of videos, be sure to drop a like. It really does help out the channel. And after watching this video and you haven't subscribed yet and you feel like it's worth subscribing, consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. Support on Delta Force videos has been amazing. I really want to thank you guys for that. Let's get right into the video. So first we're going to go through attachments. Then we have some settings as well, and some extra little things that you might want to know about a gun and how to set it up properly. So first, we're starting here. We have a M4A1. This is actually not the default build, because I made 4 loadouts right here. We're starting with the default one. This is going to be our test weapon, the M4A1. These are the stats right here. So first, I want to explain the stats of this gun. These 4 stats is what we're going to be talking about today. So we have control, handling, stability, accuracy. Starting from the bottom here, accuracy. Accuracy is actually the spread of your weapon, but mainly focused on when you're hip firing. So it's going to be your crosshair spread. So in case this number is going to be very high, your crosshair spread is actually going to be very low. So for example, if you're hip firing a lot, make sure you have your accuracy stats on very high. This is very important. For example, for shotguns. Shotgun, and if you have high accuracy stats, it's going to be amazing, because you're going to be hip firing a lot with shotguns. It's very effective. Be sure to have the accuracy stats all the way cranked up. Stability is actually the moving of your gun. So if you're aiming down the sights, especially with snipers, you can notice this. You can notice your sniper swaying around, but it's also mainly when you're firing. So when you're firing, the stability of the weapon makes it like all bouncy. This is not actually your recoil, however. The stability is more the flinching around, also when you're getting shot, but also the bouncing around when you're shooting your weapon. Stability is very good if you will have engaging in a lot of gunfights, or if you're sniping for longer range and you mainly don't want to have your weapon to sway around a lot, but also if you're really trying to clearly see where you're shooting at. Handling is how fast your gun pulls up after running or walking. Very important stat if you play submachine guns and you want your gun to basically react super fast and be ready to shoot right away. So handling is how fast your gun pulls up. It is also how fast you can strafe with a gun. Strafing is when you ADSing and you're moving around. So basically your movement speed while being zoomed in. That's also handling. Control is the actual recoil control. So this is a stat you want to have all the way up high if you're struggling with a gun's recoil control. Now I've made 4 builds here. Check the stats. This is our standard M4A1. Then I have made a control stat. As you can see, the control went from 41 to 66 right here. All the attachments I put on the gun are all to improve the control, but some of the other stats went up probably as well. Now when I made a stability, the control drops a bit, but the stability goes all the way up. And then we have an accuracy build where the accuracy goes all the way up, but all the other stats kind of drop off a little bit. So I first of all wanted to show you literally what every type of build does, so you properly understand what it does, and this is very good for considering where you're going to put attachments on your gun, what you want to be focusing on. So first we're going to start off with the standard M4A1. We're going to do a little bit of a recoil comparison. So here, we're going to stand between 1 and 2. We're going to stand on the line this up with this line right here. And we're going to start shooting. Notice also the sway on the red dot side right now. It is not much. There's a tiny bit of sway. There you go. It goes all the way up from there to there. So above that. There's also kind of a limit on a recoil. Eventually it's just going to be shooting and it's going to hit a certain plateau. So it doesn't go up higher. We probably just hit that. I can test it again. It's kind of hard to test with a 30 round mag, but basically remember it goes from there to just a little over. Now we're going into leave firing range. we're going from the bottom, so we're not going to use the control one right away. We're first going to use the accuracy build, which, if you can see, has slightly worse control. Apply loadout. Let's hop back into the fire range. So here we go, between 1 and 2. As you can see, the hip fire is so much closer than the one we were using before. So actually with this gun, you don't even have to ADS for close range. You can just start hip firing players and you'll actually be very accurate with it. So let's compare the recoil. Try and stand somewhat close to the line between 1 and 2. Aim right at that, and that's how much of a difference that makes. This has worse stability and recoil. We almost hit the ceiling right there. We'll do it again. And we basically hit the ceiling. So that's what that does. But great hip fire spread. Now we go into the stability build. Modify loadout. Here you go. Stability goes up. Control goes up as well. That's an interesting one. Apply loadout. And fire range. Here we go. Stand on the line. You can see how the red dot is nearly not moving. But check that out. It goes up to that as well, even though the control stats are higher. We're going to do this again. It goes back up there. Why is that? Let's leave the firing range, because we did some calibrations on this weapon. Check the calibrations here. We lose control. We gain extra stability, but we lose control here as well. This one. We get some extra stability right here. We actually do not lose control here, but check this one out. We lose extra control with the wrong modifications here. If we're gonna have this to basically extra control, so we're gonna have that. Fire range, it's the same loadout. It makes a very tiny difference. It's not much. We can go again. We'll shoot again. Try and stand on the line between 1 and 2. It's not much, but it's a little bit. Right below the cross. So that's the difference it makes to calibrate your weapons. But as you can see, stability doesn't do anything for recoil control. Now we're going into the main one. Which is right here, the control setup. So 66, apply loadout. Here we go. Fire range. So we go between 1 and 2. We'll go on that line. All this is without moving my mouse, by the way. That I'm gonna explain that right now, but everything is without moving my mouse. I was holding the trigger. That is by far the best performance out of all the weapons in terms of recoil control. It goes straight up, it hits that instead of with stability it went right under. With the normal loadout we went to this line right here. And with the accuracy loadout we freaking hit the ceiling. As you can see, the hip fire spread, however, it's a bit worse. It's not terrible. You can still hip fire with it, but you shouldn't. And those are the changes you can make to a gun just by adding the right attachments to a weapon. So you want to be focusing on control. Stability is not the same as control at all. So I wanted to go quickly into calibrations. So this entire build is literally for recoil control. But what's very important to know as well is you can calibrate a weapon. The main ones are barrel, rear grip, stock. It depends what attachments you're using. Sometimes you can calibrate more things. But here you start off with barrel. Barrel is also going to increase the ADS movement speed, as you can see right there. But you lose a little bit of fire stability, which, you know, you can sacrifice. If you don't want to sacrifice it, you go the other way around. And here we have some ADS speed. So that's what a barrel calibration can do. But this one is very important. The extra control. You can add extra control by adding extra weight, which doesn't even lower the ADS speed or anything. So if you want to give up some aiming stability while breathing, you can use some extra control. It makes quite a bit of a difference to have this all the way cranked up. And here you have some hipfire aim speed, which is the speed it takes for your gun to pull up after running. Also very useful. What I actually like running is this on some aggressive weapons. You can go with extra control and extra hipfire aim speed. So calibrating weapons, I was kind of lazy to do it in the beginning, but it's very useful. Also with the stock, you can add even more control. So with a stock, I have extra control, and here I have extra control, which makes a huge difference. Let's try the same weapon again. The exact same weapon. We go between 1 and 2. Remember, it went up from this to maybe a little bit above that. Now let's try again. It's not much, but it's a tiny bit closer. But in these tight situations, it makes a huge difference. You can probably easily, with 0 misses, shoot a 50 range target. I think this is 100. We're gonna try. Sadly, I failed. That's a bit unfortunate. But as you can see, it's quite good. However, now the gun could use some stability for those longer range kills. Because it does sway around a tiny bit. Also with muzzle flash, that's why I kind of like to use suppressors. So I wanted to show one more attachment, and then we're going to get into these settings. What happens if you add a muzzle right here, which is a suppressor, for example. So let's go with the Whisper Tactical Suppressor. We're going to install it. Watch how much clearer the sights are going to be, the targets, when I'm shooting. It's a lot easier to shoot targets at longer range when you actually have a suppressor. We're going to try the third target again. Hopefully I don't fail at this. Sadly I do. But that's not the point. The point is that the targets are a lot clearer to see with a suppressor. So even if your gun has great recoil control, if you don't add a suppressor or some type of muzzle flash concealer, it's going to still be hard to hit players from a longer range. So that's quite important, actually. Try out the suppressors or try out some of the muzzle flash hiders. It makes a huge difference. Also, one more attachment thing right here. We go to the muzzle, which we have right here. We have vertical control and horizontal control. Now, vertical control is literally the recoil going up and down. So literally when you're trying to shoot, it goes usually straight up or at a little bit of an angle. Horizontal recoil is literally your recoil going like this. Horizontal recoil is basically your recoil control going both ways, which can be quite hard to control. Horizontal recoil is a lot harder to control than vertical recoil. There's a huge difference. With vertical recoil, you're basically pulling your gun down, but with horizontal recoil, you also have to deal with your gun going a certain angle and then maybe another angle. There are certain weapons that literally the recoil goes all over the place. So if you have to pick between these two, usually you want to go for horizontal compensators. In case you're curious for that. Horizontal recoil control is a lot harder to control. Now, next thing, we're going into the firing range here again. We're going to go into attachments. As you can see right now, the recoil looks extremely low. I'm controlling it right now, of course. However, I'm going to change a setting right here, this one. I'm going to turn this off. Now, it's visually probably going to look like I have a lot more recoil. Notice what I changed. We're going back here. Setting, turn this back on. Let's go one more time. Let's reload the gun. Turn this off. Notice how the second one has a lot more visual recoil. There's not actually more recoil, but there's a lot more visual recoil. It is the ADS FOV setting. I have a 120 FOV, so basically my view is quite wide. It's supposed to be 120 degrees if this is actually accurate. I don't know. But I can see a lot around me, especially in close quarter situations. I find the setting to be quite useful. What happens if I have this setting turned on? You will notice a slight zoom, but it's not much. So basically I keep my field of view when I ADS. Now what you think, what does this have for impact for your recoil control? is that now my recoil is visually gonna just look a lot less. Which is why certain streamers are like, hey, why does it look like your recoil is so low? It's literally that setting. We're gonna change it back off here. It's not a huge difference, I'm aware of that, but there is quite a bit of difference with the visual recoil on this. I find it quite a lot more bouncy and actually harder to control, but the recoil is the exact same. So this is a setting you might want to try and mess around with. Notice that this setting only has a high effect on you if you have a high field of view. If you use a lower field of view, this setting will not have much of a difference, because this basically goes to a low field of view when you have it off, so you zoom in. But if you run a low field of view and you have the setting off, it's not going to zoom in. Like the ADS FOV off setting is always set by a certain default. So if you have a low field of view and you turn this on or off, you're barely going to notice any difference. So if you run a high field of view, I would say anywhere from 85 or higher, 90 or higher, you're actually going to notice a difference with the setting off. Now, next one is your sensitivity. So if you run a low sensitivity, which probably by default a lot of people do, you need to move your mouse more to control recoil, but you can be more precise with that. However, when you run a really low sensitivity, your mouse literally, you need to counter drag it to be able to control recoil. When I have no controller cam, or sorry, mouse cam right now, but you're gonna have to trust me on this. When I'm literally controlling my recoil like this, because I run a pretty high sensitivity, I literally only have to move my fingers down. Now, I'm gonna try and control the recoil. Check this out. We're gonna, where is the sensitivity? It's right here. Okay, I'm gonna run a super low sensitivity right here, as you can see. Mouse sensitivity 0.1. Okay, watch me. This is a very extreme example. I'm gonna try and control the recoil, and you will notice that I literally won't be able to do it. That right there. And that's me moving my entire mouse off the mouse mat. I literally had to pull it all the way down. Now, of course, this is me spinning around, by the way. This is how slow this sensitivity is. If you take this to a smaller margin, of course, like normal sensitivities might be... We're going to do a quick example of like 3, whatever, something like this. This is a pretty normal sensitivity that people use. You kind of have to use your entire arm, but you can still see most of it around you. Right now, I need to move my entire arm still. I can't even do it here. You need to move still your entire arm to control the recoil. So the higher your sensitivity is, the less movement you need to do to control the recoil. However, on the other side, it's going to be more precise. So your sensitivity goes into play of looking around, but it also comes to play in controlling recoil. Actually, it's one of the most important things for controlling recoil. So in case you're struggling with controlling recoil, maybe try a higher or maybe a lower sensitivity. Not just by looking around or by aiming, but controlling recoil, you have to be almost the most precise out of any of those 3. Tracking is very important, being able to look around, but controlling recoil on a higher or low sensitivity has a huge impact on your performance in-game. Now, those are all the main settings that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully this video was useful. Sorry for it being quite lengthy, but I really wanted to make sure I have everything covered. I'll make some timestamps if you want to quickly scroll through the video again. Thank you guys for watching. Again, consider subscribing if you thought the videos was useful, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.